Well, there are two things about laughter and sadness or tears. Laughter is an expression that's outward, and sadness is an expression that's inward. So when you go to, say, a wedding ceremony, you see something out there, you begin to dance, you begin to mingle, and it's a happy space. So you're extroverted, incredibly extroverted. You go to a funeral, there is an event about death, about a mother or a father having lost a son or a daughter or a child, whatever the case may be. And you realize that you go inward. So that's the first thing about laughter versus sadness, that laughter usually takes you out, whereas sadness takes you in. Now, if you examine the majority of our emotions, about 95, maybe 96, maybe, 99% of it is quite negative because, consider yourself for a moment. You're no longer 18, you're an old man almost. Birth was quite traumatic. Then you get to be 1 or 2, you have no idea who you are, what you are, why you have this particular body, why you throw temper tantrums, why sometimes you express emotions the way you do. Your parents, after a while, are frustrated by you, they scream at you, throw you against the wall, give you time out. Then you go to school, they discipline you, you gotta learn the alphabets, math, geography, history, things you don't really care for. You want to go out there, play soccer for 10 hours, but your parents say, no, soccer 20 minutes, math 5 hours. Then all of a sudden you're in the grips of this hormonal explosion inside you. You find the opposite sex or the same sex very attractive. And then you pursue them, you fall in love, you get broken by this passion. Then you realize you gotta stay in school. School is boring, instructors frustrate you, you gotta do busy work when you go home, essays you don't like, quizzes you don't like. Then at a certain point, you look at your friends, they're no longer living with their parents, so you're in the cradle of jealousy, envy, anger, hatred, because you don't have the funds. You get yourself a crummy job at In-N-Out. Initially it's exciting, then it gets boring and frustrating. And then you make some cash. At the end of the month, you realize most of it goes towards your rent, most of it goes towards food. And then you only have $2 left in your pocket. And once in a while you reflect on this and you say, wow, I spent 60 hours of my life giving it to somebody else. They give me, $1,000. Of the 1,000, I only got $2 for myself. And then you look yourself in the mirror, you're no longer 20, 30, or 40, or 50. You begin to evaluate your life, it amounts to nothing. And then you get a little older, a little sicker, no health insurance. Then you realize how politicians, play with your life. Kind of like, when they send you to Vietnam or Iraq or elsewhere to fight their battles. Then you get sick, and you feel alone. Then your body begins to crumble, and then you die a painful death. That's your life. Are there joys in it? Absolutely. You have a child for, I think, the first maybe few weeks, it's beautiful. You get into relationships, beautiful. You buy a brand new car, beautiful. But these are all just like maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. So most of it is quite sad. It's just struggle, never ending. Now, in a life that for the most part demands so much from you, and most of it is quite painful, how do you combat? You tell raunchy jokes. Next time someone very, very close to you dies, pay close attention. You'll spend the first few weeks just crying, depending on the intimacy of the relationship. Then something about your body just feels exhausted because of the tears you've shed. Then jokes all of a sudden appear. Some of them, quite clean, some are quite naughty. Then you begin to laugh, belly laughs. And there is nothing funny about the laughs, and there is nothing funny about the jokes. It really is an expression of sadness with a different twist, that's all. I think Friedrich Nietzsche had it right, that in life you only have really 2 options. You either cry or you laugh. Nietzsche, of course, himself didn't really laugh all that much. Have you ever heard of the malamatis? It's a Persian word, and it comes from a tradition, it's called Sufism. Have you heard of that tradition? So there is a branch of Sufism, and they've come to realize something really, really interesting about people, about our desire for validation from people. Imagine today after class, my dean, my boss calls me and says, there has been a complaint about you. Can you come pay me a visit after class? Sure. and the complaint has been filed by an 18-year-old. Why would anyone take an 18-year-old seriously? I mean, the complaint is, I just don't like the way you teach. And the dean takes it very seriously. And my question is, why should the dean take an 18-year-old's perspective seriously? I mean, what has an 18-year-old done that's so significant that has led that 18-year-old to a conclusion that's sound, that is filled with mindfulness and awareness and examination of all sorts of things under the sun? Malamatis came to argue that people in general just think about life in all the wrong ways. We should not worry about what they think. In fact, what you should do is make sure they don't like you. There's a story which you may or may not know. It's about this guy was around the lake on Saturday, where people sell things, and X runs into Y and says, wait a minute, you know Plato, right? And Y says, yes, I know Plato. And X looks at Y and says, when you see Plato next time, tell him that he is really, 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 really wise. Y says, okay. So a day or so later, Y runs into Plato and says, I ran into X, and X says, you are really, really wise. And Plato sits and cries and screams. And Y is taken aback. I've given Plato a compliment, and yet he doesn't like it. Why? And so Plato looks at him and says, I don't know what wrong I have done, what mistakes I have committed, that an idiot calls me wise. I mean, to recognize wisdom, you have to be wise yourself, right? And the Malamatis argued that people are not wise at all. They may have, flimsy intuition here and there. They have perspectives, but those perspectives are not rooted in wisdom, just feelings, assumptions. And so they went even further. They said, you know what, when I go to class, I'm just going to act like a buffoon. Students sign up for a philosophy class. They think that the class is going to be very serious, filled with beautiful ideas, but all this guy does is tell jokes. It's not a class. And you realize as someone like a Socrates or someone like a Malcolm X, who had a very sardonic sense of humor, they use humor as a vehicle to hide behind. It's kind of like, if you have reached a stage where you undress only in front of the person that you trust and have faith in and you love, you only undress before them, not the rest of us. And so Socrates had argued that I'm only going to reveal who I really am to those who take me seriously and understand who and what I am. To the rest, I'm just going to be funny. You should act like a buffoon, because if you give people the illusion that you're wise, you're going to get all sorts of scumbags around you. And they're going to waste a lot of your time, especially if you're young, because you have all these wrong assumptions about compassion and generosity and forgiveness and all that. And they'll waste your time for about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. If you're clever, shun. آنان که خاک را به نظر کیمیا کنند آیا بود که گوشی چشمی به ما کنند. Do you know much about alchemy? The most simple and the most superficial way I can describe it is this way. The human body could be disgusting in many ways, but then you fall in love, and all of a sudden that body becomes a temple. It's a temple that you worship. When you're not around it, you feel sad. When you're in its presence, your skin doesn't feel like home. You want to explode. The intensity is too much. Love has this ability to transform flesh into something magical, mysterious, divine. That's alchemy. A magician, when you go see a therapist, the assumption is that when I go into his office, I fantasize about a cure. When I go into his office and when I look into his eyes or her eyes, I'm hoping there will be some tingle on the inside. I will feel something. A feeling of inspiration, excitement, nervousness, dread, all because there is something strange about this fellow. It changes your brain chemistry. Imagine you go somewhere and someone looks at you and you feel as if they can see through you. You don't know why. And all of a sudden you clam up because you're very, very private. And you've been private most of your life for whatever the reasons may be. But they see through you and they look at you and say, so what's going on? And you try to be superficial, chit-chat, and they stop you. You just want to go for the jugular. They value their time and energy. I mean, they do this dance for the first like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, but then they want to figure out, what they can do for you. And you can know that, you can see that, you can feel that. And some magician in that book, The Strange Life of Ivan Osokin, written by P.D. Auspinski, who was a student of G.I. Gurdjieff, who was an Armenian, is that the problem of reincarnation is that you walk into a relationship, you realize your past is like your shadow. It follows you and destroys the relationship. You go to a therapist to end karma and reincarnation. After 5, 10 years, you assume that therapy sessions have done you wonders. You go back into a relationship and then you realize the same stories that you suffered from all of a sudden come to the surface. The second relationship crumbles. Then you go to therapy for another 5, 10 years. Then you assume that you're healed. You go back into your third relationship. It crumbles too. And so what you have in The Strange Life of Osokin is that Osokin imagines that if he reads Plato, he'll understand philosophy. If he reads Carlos Castaneda, he'll understand philosophy. If he reads Aldous Huxley, he understands the nature of psychedelics. And at every turn, he gets caught. He doesn't understand anything. And that's what the magician tells him. You're blind, you were born blind, you lived your life blind, and even if you go back in time, you remain blind. And it doesn't matter what books you read, it doesn't matter how you listen or what you listen to, you're going to be deaf and dumb. That's your story, unless you allow me to give you. You can go to Target and get a blender, 15 bucks. It's beautiful. Or you can go to Costco and you can get a Vitamix. It's a blender, but it's not 15, it's $400, currently on sale for $2.99. You put rocks in that blender, they come out as sand. A magician is Vitamix. It takes what you have and gives it back to you in a way you never expected. And you have glimmers of insight. Now, it doesn't mean you know what to do with them. Remember what Osokin is told. Just because you know something, it doesn't mean you know how to use your knowing. You suck in relationships. All right, so you know. What are you going to do? That knowledge requires a different set of information that will teach you what to do with the things you know. And that is the difficult part. Because in someone teaching you how to use your insights, you need to get rid of your assumptions, your past, your illusions. You have to submit and surrender, and that is tough. So that's who the magician is, an alchemist.